Hi, and welcome back again to Paula Edwards at Advanced Virtual Assistants. Good to see you here again. Thank you for joining me. Today, we're going to be talking about the secrets of the discovery call. Now, I know from years of doing this job, and actually I felt it myself, in that we as operators really don't feel comfortable with sales. I mean, I think a lot of people don't. We get this kind of icky feeling that it's pushy and just not something we want to do. And so I don't really like to use the word sales. I think it just conjures up all a negative image for us. So I think about it as something else. So a discovery call is, if you didn't know, if you're new to this, you're looking into becoming a virtual assistant. The discovery call is the first conversation that you have with a potential client. So it could be that you've met somebody online, or they've said, "Can we have a chat? I might need your services," or whatever it is. It's that it might be face to face in a networking session. That conversation could take place. So, but essentially we call it a discovery call because most of our work is done remotely and online, and therefore we use tools like Zoom or video conferencing softwares where we have this conversation to see what they're looking for, what the client is looking for, but also it's a two-way thing. We call it the discovery call. I guess really it is a sales environment, but I don't want you to think about it that way. I want you to think about it as a right fit, and this works both ways. You're a business owner, don't forget, or you're going to be. It's important for you to decide whether this client is a client that you want to work with. It's the type of work that you'd like to do. You think it's going to be a good fit for you, as they're doing for you, as they think, oh, is this a good VA for me? Have they got the skills that I'm looking for, the experience I'm looking for? Are we going to get along? Can I trust them in my business? So that's what the call's for, but it's definitely a two-way street. Please don't feel, I know so many people feel so nervous because they feel like it's like an interview, but it's not really like an interview. You're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. And when you change your mindset to be thinking that way, it feels much easier to have these conversations. So please don't think of it as sales, think of it as a right fit conversation, and it's a two-way thing. The other thing I say about sales, just as a side note, is I don't really think of it as sales. I think of it as us helping somebody out. They're looking for some support in their business, and we're going to be able to help them with that. So I don't think about it. We're not selling them something we don't need. They don't need, my apologies. We're selling them something they are looking for, they do need. So it's not really like that greasy sales kind of environment. It really isn't. The whole setup right from the start is a totally different one. So I want you to get comfortable with that. Call it something else if sales feels uncomfortable. But that's what the discovery call is for. It's a right fit conversation. So what I would say is, prior to the discovery call, make sure, if you get the opportunity, that is, make sure that you do your preparation. Really do look into who this client is. And I do what I call my due diligence, and I do some research on them. I look at their website. I always go straight to their About Me page. I look at the services that they're offering and learn about them. And that sometimes you'll find things there where your values are aligned. They'll talk about things like things they like or don't like, or where they've come from, or you might have things in common, like you're both from the same area, or you've got the same dog, or whatever it is, you've been on holiday to the same place. So I love doing all this sort of research because it furnishes me with conversation that I can have when I'm on the call with them. So I definitely advise you do your proper research. And it's for two reasons, really, so that you can decide whether it's a client that's going to be a good fit for you. You can already start to see alignment or not. And it gives you conversation starters. So do that research, look at their website, maybe Google them, maybe if in the UK, look on Companies House or wherever it is that the businesses have to register. Look on social medias, try to get a really good picture of who they are, what they're offering. And this is just such a valuable thing to do. And they're always really impressed that you've done this research before. So you understand who they are, what they're offering, who their clients are even. It really, really helps you, but also helps you with the discovery call conversation, but also it helps you to decide whether it's going to be a good fit for you. and whether they're going to be a good client. They've not got a website, you can't find anything online about them, you start to get a little bit like suspicious about whether they're going to be somebody who's going to be able to pay your invoices going forward, for example. So do that research early on and take a couple notes, just bullet point notes, so that you can jog your memory when you're actually on the discovery call. Then once you're on the call, make sure that you've used something like Calendly or one of the tools to schedule it, and make sure reminders go out to remind them, and that the link is there and working for them to join you on the call. But once you're on the call, then I really think it's important to try to lead the conversation in some ways. But some people feel really nervous about doing lots of the talking. So, in the first instance, it's the pleasantries. How are you? Have you had a nice day? Oh, it's raining here. Where in the world are you? Those types of things. Maybe bring up, oh, I saw you went on holiday to Thailand. I went there back in blah, blah, blah. Have that little chat to be an icebreaker, I guess, and make sure that this conversation starts flowing. Then what I like to do is to ask them about their business. And what you will find with business owners is they love to talk about their business, me included. Yeah, and that just opens it up, and you just have to sit and listen. And if you're not recording the call, then make sure you're taking notes of things that you either need to remember going forwards, or that you want to come back to discuss after they finish talking. So let them talk about their business, pick up on any pain points that they mention, and think how you'd address that thing, how you could potentially fix that thing. So ask about their goals and their challenges in the business, where are they hoping to take it? Who are their ideal client? And what are they currently having challenges with? So you can ask all of these things, and the conversation then just flows. There's never any awkward silences when you ask a business owner about their business. And this also helps to build rapport. It shows that you've got an interest in their business, and that all helps to build the trust. Once they finish talking, what I normally do is say, would you like me to tell you a bit about me? And so from there, I go on to say, how I've got to where I am in my business, what I can offer, who I work with, sorts of things I've done, whatever you think is appropriate about where you are in your business. It's helpful to share that then. And then after that, I would come around to addressing those pain points that I've taken bullet point notes for. So they may have said things, problems that they've got, or big issues that made them pick up the phone to you in the first place. You can go back and say, what I could do about that, the way I would handle that is I think I would set this up for you, and so that won't happen again. That mistake won't happen again. I'll make sure there's a system in place. You don't have to give away all your top secrets for every single problem they've got, but I would definitely suggest giving a little bit of value to demonstrate your knowledge and your experience. Like, I would do it this way so that doesn't happen again. But don't give them loads. Give them just enough for them to think, oh gosh, that would be amazing if that was happening. And then leave it at that. And so I also like to say, I've got lots of ideas about how we can fix the other things you mentioned, but don't necessarily give away all your top secrets, because if they're doing their job right, they're probably going to speak to more than just you. They're going to speak to several VAs. So make sure that you sort of give enough to demonstrate your experience and add value and build that relationship and start to build the trust. But just it's a balancing act to make sure you don't give too much away. At the end of that, I would wrap up the call, give a little run through, what you've talked about, and explain what your next steps are. Sometimes usually they ask your pricing. Hopefully they've seen it on your website before the call. So it might be that you say, well, my rate is so much, or I sell packages of 10 hours, or however you decide you're selling yourself. Have that conversation. And then I would say, explain the next steps, what they can expect from you once you've put the phone down or ended the call. For us, it would be that we'd send a proposal. I usually tell them when they can expect it by. If the call is on a Friday afternoon, they're not going to get it till Monday. If it's midweek, I might say you'll have it tomorrow or the next day or this afternoon. I know in my head what my diary is looking like, and I know what's realistic about when I can get a proposal to them. And then when then we get the proposal across them based on the conversation, what you've heard, what you think that will help them solve their problems, and get that across to them. Always do what you say you're going to do. Make sure that you get that to them when you said you're going to. In the proposal, you can give a little idea of, this is the sorts of things I can help with. But also I like to say, by the way, I also do these things. Of course, I mean, as long as it's relevant, you don't want to add things in that aren't relevant, but you know, open their mind up to what else you can do. Once you've got their, let's say, inbox sorted out, maybe there's other things you can help with. So I like to put that in the proposal so that they know that there's growth in the relationship, which is usually what people want. Once that proposal's gone across, make sure you follow up. Make sure you put in your email what a pleasure it was to talk to you, or how I love to learn about your business. These are the things I particularly enjoyed, you know, talking about, whatever. Make sure that that relationship, that conversation is still nurturing, not just a cold proposal, you know, this, I'll do this for this much money. Of course, that's important, but make sure that the whole nurturing conversation joins that proposal when it goes across. Then I like to follow up. So if I haven't heard back from them within maybe 2 days, I'll say, just want to check you received my proposal. I know how these things have a habit of going into the spam or whatever. So just, and they'll usually come back and say, yes, sorry, haven't had a chance to look at it yet or whatever. Make sure you follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. You know, and I mean, I can follow up to 7 times. So make sure that you are, I mean, I'm not saying hound them. It's done in a gentle way, and usually a little bit of humour in there. Add a little bit of humour. Don't try to be like the hard sales, because nobody likes that. It's like, you know, gentle conversation. And don't forget, you know, so many VAs I talk to don't do the follow-up. They feel like it's pushy. But these people have come to you because they're drowning and they can't keep on top of everything. Do you think that your follow-up is going to be the first thing, that a response to your proposal is going to be the first thing on the list? You're not a priority. Delivering the client services is their priority. And so they just sometimes just don't get to it. So make sure you follow up. I remember once there was a lady I was talking to, and I really wanted to work with her. I loved her. I thought she was great. I loved the work she was doing. And I didn't hear from her. I was actually really disappointed because I thought we had such good rapport on the call. And I think it was about 7 follow-ups that I did over a few weeks. And eventually she came back and said, thank you for being so patient and following up with me. I definitely want to work. And she did sign the contract. She'd just been too busy. So, I mean, that was a lesson to me, and let it be a lesson to you, that, you know, it's so important to follow up and remember they're busy and they don't have time to come back to you. And maybe they don't, maybe they start to ghost you. Maybe they decide, no, you weren't the right person. Maybe they had spoken to other people. That's fine, by the way. Not everybody's going to think we're the best thing since sliced bread. We're not everybody's cup of tea, as not everybody is your cup of tea. And I think it's really important to get okay with that. Don't take it personally. Dust yourself off and move on to the next one. If the proposal is accepted, great, pop a contract over to them and start that whole process of the onboarding. Anyway, I hope that's been really helpful. It's how we do our discovery calls here in Advanced Virtual Assistants, and you know, they normally work for us. So I'm hoping that by me sharing that with you, I've given you some good hints and tips of how to confidently, you know, hold a discovery call and win that business. So good luck with that. Don't forget to subscribe below, follow us, come and see us in our Facebook group, or follow me on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear how you're getting on, and also invite your friends to come and join us. Thanks so much. Bye.